Hello and welcome to another comic book Chronicles. Coming to you live late on a Sunday night with gremlins and all, but hopefully a speedy show. Is myself, Ryder Cat, and you can find me at Ryder Cat on Twitter. You can find me at Newsness Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
With Columbia down the way.
And sound effects. If you have heard, come from none other than a man in Brooklyn, one agent underscore 70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Happy born day to Christopher Wallace, the notorious B.I.G. Just the other day.
And also happy belated birthday to Busta Rhymes, also 50.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's plenty of other people, but those two are in the purview between us right now. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can also find us normally on Thursday nights when we record live. Hopefully we're going to get back to that schedule. The last couple of weeks have been kind of interesting.
Yeah, for various reasons. That's the weirdest part.
Yes, and that's all we have to say about that. Obviously last week was a movie protocol, and this week was just things have happened, so that's all we got to say. But normally, like I said, twitch.tv/comicbookchronicles and youtube.com/the Kliq Nation, where we record live every Thursday.
Yeah, make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the good reviews. 5 stars.
Yep. Man, I am washed out. There we go. Turn that down a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna actually do something a little bit different because it's so late, because it's a Sunday light. Normally we would have a normal show, but like I said, we started late. We're just gonna rapid fire the books real quick. So spin it up.
Here we go.
I ain't got time to breathe.
And hopefully this is gonna make the time codes, me doing the time codes this week, go very faster. That would be great. All right. So do you want to go ahead and start off with yours?
Sure. I'm going to target books that we had in common. So Fantastic Four number 43 is written by Dan Slott with art by Rachel Stott and Andrea DeVito, color art by Jesus Abertov, and letters by our favorite lettering python, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is the latest episode, the latest chapter in the Reckoning War, and things are definitely moving. We get a little bit of progress, not just on like the main battlefront, but lots of the side quests and the side battlefronts, like everyone basically everything is moving forward in increments in this issue, like every stage of the battle, from the various parts of the Fantastic Four to their children to Dr. Doom, who is making big moves and kind of showing what kind of progress he's making and what his ulterior motives have been this entire time.
Which, hey, wouldn't be Doom if there weren't, right?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I was we definitely started out with I had to bring this part up real quick though. The part where we see one particular quest that happened, almost a side quest, where the cormorant, I believe that's what his name is looking for pieces of armor, and he's plowing through various groups and people to get it, including a couple that I hadn't seen or heard of, and one that I'm actually reading about, or that just came up recently in reading She-Hulk's 2005 book, which probably, as I suspect, might show up on the show.
Yep.
But yeah, there was that whole thing, and there was a whole little panel or two dealing with the Great Lakes Avengers, and the comrade says, yes, there was no one here that was unbeatable, and with Squirrel Girl laying right there in front of him, which I thought was
Exactly,
funny.
like a clear metatextual reference.
I was like, I had a clear laugh about that. I was like, okay, yes, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and just that's kind of funny. Now, I hate it for it. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it was like, okay, that was too funny.
Mhm.
So I kind of wonder if Slot talked to was it Jodie Hauser? Who was doing Squirrel Girl last? Can't remember. Whoever was doing Squirrel Girl the last couple of few volumes of.
Was that like Ryan North or
It
something?
might have
Or
been actually, yeah. But I think the Unbeatable was before he did. I can't remember. Regardless, whoever it was, I was like, I kind of went to Slot,
Right.
went to them and was like, yeah, I'm about to do something to your character here.
Right. So just real quick, I mean, have I just, lost track of all these armor pieces? Like, were these characters all carrying previously equipped with these like pieces of like green tech
So
and
two of
have
them,
been for many years?
yes, two of them that I knew of, yes. Like those
Okay,
other
that's
couple,
interesting.
the arm,
That
the arm
Slot
ones,
chose to weave that story together through, these characters.
right? Now one made sense because, like I said, because it's just him reusing a character that he had used before. Like Southpaw was the one that had the left arm, and that was the one from She-Hulk's from his She-Hulk run.
Right. And the Gauntlet character was not from Civil War
I,
or like the Initiative?
well, yeah, the Initiative, yeah, Avengers Initiative. So yeah, that was a cut right there. That was kind of a deep cut right there. I'm like, I did not realize that those two. I guess because of this, basically saying that they had the pieces of the same armor from
Right.
what Dan Slott put together here, which I did not recognize. So, and I can't remember. I forgot where those other pieces were from, except for the head dude. But I was like, yeah, I did not realize those armor pieces were tied like that.
Right. Well, or just retconned
Right.
to tie together.
Right.
So we don't know. I was like, grasshopper legs. I'm like, which character is that? But Slot did have an Initiative book, right?
That's probably true. Yeah, I didn't read all those things.
So I have to give him some credit for literally laying the groundwork for this story for decades.
Which, as we have seen him do, with other characters, we have seen him go the long haul with some stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Slot had one of those Initiative
He
books.
probably did. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't check I didn't check, but like I said, I knew about Gauntlet. I knew about Southpaw from She-Hulk.
Right.
And the dude that was in it with the Warriors, I'm like, yeah, I don't remember who the heck that dude was with the legs. So, at any rate, this was
no, he wrote Avengers: The Initiative.
Yeah. Okay, so he did
There
write
it
that. Okay.
is.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really read all that, but I remember reading some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just I didn't really go through all of that because it was like.
And so that means he was weaving stuff through She-Hulk into Avengers: The Initiative. That's, wow.
Like the shout out to Slot, because you can say anything about him. I know there are people out there that don't like him, but this is the kind of stuff I like with Slot.
Yeah.
Sometimes like he'll take some time, he'll bring some stuff up. He might not use it for a while, and he just happened to bring it back. Now I don't even know if he was planning to do this that far ahead in advance, but like I said, it just so happened is like, well, I can just use this and this and this from stuff that I used in the past.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Alrighty.
But yeah, Fantastic 443 is pretty good. I'm waiting to see how this thing ends up.
Alrighty.
What's next?
What you got next?
Okay, so another book that we both have in common is Iron Fist number 3 of 5. This is a miniseries introducing the latest incarnation of the Iron Fist of Kun Lun. It's written by Alyssa Wong with pencils by Michael Ig and Sean Chen, inks by Michael Ig and Victor Olafaba and Keith Champagne and Don Ho. Colors are by J. David Ramos, and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So I am not shy about telling anyone who wants to hear, including our podcast audience, as well as our very own at Roddycat, that I am no fan of this Swordmaster character. And the fact that they are basically shoehorning him into this Iron Fist transformation, just does not, just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
So I'm not hate reading this, but it's pretty annoying to me. And I just feel like the characters that have been introduced are just not sympathetic at all, and that's where my big problem is. I understand why there's been a lot of retconning and why there's a lot of changing of the basic stories around Kunlun, but ultimately it's unappealing for me, at least. So I'll leave it at that. There's not much that I can actually remember about whatever it is that happens in the story, so I can't tell you or even give you a brief synopsis. So I'll hand it off to Roddycat.
Yeah, I can remember a couple of things. And like I said, we don't necessarily have to really go through it because, like I said, we're in the midpoint of this book. What I'm more curious about is where this is going, because like Agent 70, I was never too fond of Swordmaster, even though I was reading the book, because I was hoping he was going to get some redemption, and
right.
It almost seemed like he did, but he wasn't really. And then they gave him Iron Fist, and then I hated it because of we had perfectly good Iron Fist in pay. We already talked about this, so we don't need to go back on that. But like Agent 7, I was like, yeah, I'm not too crazy about him, and I'm hoping he's going to get some redemption or pass it on, even though technically he is Iron Fist in name and similar power set, but not necessarily, because he got the Iron Fist in a different way. In fact, he was given the Iron Fist, if I'm not mistaken, Iron Fist, and then he has his pieces of his sword that is in his arm, which now that I remember, there's at least one or two pieces that he don't have, because there's another character that has it, so I can't imagine what they're going to do with all of that. But nevertheless, all that is to say is I would hope they give it up, or I would hope they do good. They make something good with him in the next 2 issues, because I hope he's not going to be Iron Fist for too much longer.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Alrighty.
What's next?
How about Silk number 5 of 5? So this is the last issue of this latest miniseries starring Cindy Moon. It's written by Emily Kim with art by Takeshi Miyazawa, who is a favorite of the show. Colors are by Ian Herring, who we all know and trust with colors on these younger teenage hero, especially the female younger teenage heroes. So he is of the he is of the Ms. Marvel fame. So we know that Ian Herring delivers the colors for this type of book, and letters are by VC's Ariana Maher. So we have reached the final issue of Silk's battle confrontation with the evil Korean witch that was unlocked when was awakened from a sarcophagus at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. It's a 400-year-old Korean witch, and that witch started draining the energy of young celebrities and influencers, and ultimately got some energy from Cindy Moon. And now Cindy has to go about trying to restore herself and all the others with J. Jonah Jameson in tow. And things don't go well immediately, but they do turn out for the best because it is the last issue. So things, do have to turn around. And, there is kind of like an obvious, there's an obvious weakness to this witch. But it does take some time to reveal itself, and and Tak Miyazawa and Ian Herring do a good job of highlighting it without being. I mean, it's obvious, but it's not completely obvious. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the issue, we do have some character development for Cindy, as well as some of the surrounding supporting characters in the book.
Yeah, the only thing I do love the fact that, look, basically Cindy got her mojo back after all of the introspection she's been going through during this miniseries. I hated the fact that the influences got their youth back also, but
Yeah.
it was a part of breaking the cycle, breaking the spell, as it were. So there was that.
Yeah, it's part of saving the day for Cindy in this story.
Yeah, and do love that the J. Jonah Jameson rooting section, the cheering section there for a second was pretty good also.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can safely say that Agent 70 and I both love Silk, like Silk a lot, and kind of hate to see her go. Hopefully she will return in another book.
Right. I mean, that seems to be that seems to be their business plan with Silk right now, is to offer up 5 or 6 issue arcs with different creators, or different writers at least.
There you go.
Yeah. Because I think Tak Miyazawa's been the same Silk artist for a couple of volumes of these miniseries.
Yeah, and Aaron Herring been there for the most of it. Yeah.
Right. So that's what it seems like. Unfortunately, they keep rebooting it with number ones because they're individual. They're these kind of little miniseries. But it's great that Cindy Moon is getting some shine as AAPI Heritage Month comes to a close.
Indeed.
Next up is New Mutants number 25. It's written by Vita Ayala with art by Rod Reese and Jan Dursema. Colors are by Ruth Redmond and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So this issue is interesting. It's a lot of fun. The art is engaging. Rod Reese's art is, there's just a lot to it. There are these great one-page kind of splash pages that tell so much story, even though there's plenty of exposition in them, that help to move the plot along. This book is beautiful to look at, and there really is there's some obvious double crossing in the works here. You're dealing with a character by the name of the Goblin Queen, and nothing good is going to happen with this character. If you're not familiar with Madeline Pryor's alter ego, go back to Inferno, because that's where this story is going back to.
Although, I don't know, like they have been doing a pretty good job of redeeming some of the more irredeemable mutants. Like, heck, that whole thing with Shadow King that just ended up. So I'm very curious as to see if that is actually where they're going with this, and that's where it seemed like they're going. So I don't know if there's going to be any double cross by her part. Might even be more of a redemption for her in this.
Well, I'm more of the wait and see.
True.
On that note, but you may be right. I may be crazy. Shout out to Billy Joel.
I mean, you are definitely more along in the lines of Danny and Rain.
Right,
because they are pretty much naysaying this whole thing that Iyana's trying to do the whole way through. So, which, I mean, to be fair, understandable, but at the same time, like, especially with Rain and that whole Shadow King thing, which, there was some poor judgment on that in a couple different ways. Shouldn't be kind of doing that, but at the same time, here we are.
Right. And before we move on, it's interesting that this book definitely, it's not a retcon. It's really kind of filling in a lot of the gaps, because, we've seen bits and pieces of Ilyana's time in limbo when she was, basically forced to grow up. In the earlier days of New Mutants. So it's interesting to see that period being revisited in the pages of this book.
So I kind of wonder about that part, because they definitely revisited. I want to believe that the backstory that they revisited kind of harkens back to her and Storm's miniseries. Technically, it's her miniseries that was set during that whole time. I don't know if did you ever read that?
I own it, but I got it as a hand-me-down part of my collection, so I've actually never read it.
I think I also own it, but I also have never read it also. And actually, this is kind of making me want to do it, just kind of see if there's anything, anything that what else they might bring up from it. But I guess you don't necessarily have to because they bring up the finer points in this thing. So, but yeah, like I said, we'll wait and see what happens with the whole thing. So I'm very curious as if this is going to play out the way they're trying to make it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up.
All right, next up is you didn't read Immortal X-Men #2, but you read X-Men Red #2.
I did, yes.
X-Men Red #2 is written by Al Ewing, favorite of the show, with art by Stefano Caselli, colors are by Federico Blee, and letters are by VC's Corey Pettit. So we catch up with the Brotherhood of Good Mutants, or at least neutral good mutants. Oh no, there's a D&D reference. On Araco / Mars, and there is plenty of afoot based on the characters that have been brought together to be part of the ensemble on Araco. And there are plenty of characters being put together that have pre-existing conflicts, as well as characters that are being brought together to create new ones. So it's only issue #2, and it's interesting to me to see where this might go. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I'm also I know I need to go back and read Immortal to see if there's any tie to this, but I don't think there is. But I am kind of curious as to what they're trying to achieve with this book, because it doesn't at first blush it's like, okay, so we got these groups and it's a Rocco facing and whatever the case may be, but I'm like, you got the whole Abigail Brand thing going on,
right? Like that's a subplot that only the reader knows about,
right? So I am curious as to how that's going to tie into the whole bigger stem thing, or whether they're just going to keep this into this book or not. So I'm very curious about that. And I know that I think this is kind of supposed to be like a leading vehicle for like Storm, since she is the region of Araco, and this is where it's set. So very, very curious about what they're going to do with that. And I know they're supposed to be doing something with her this
and
year.
it's interesting that they're using this as a vehicle to explore Vulcan again,
right?
And Cable seems to be, this seems to be the one book where Cable is playing a decent role.
Well, except for that one part, but yeah, I guess we'll find out what all that's about.
Yep.
Another summer's in the fold.
Yep.
All right, next up.
Alrighty. And I think that is it for the books that we have in common. So you wrap up your books, and then I will seriously rapid fire what I have left, because I read a lot this week.
Okay, sure. Actually, yeah, I guess so. Shoot, I only got 2 books left. Guess what, folks? It's back. Savage Avengers #1. It is back again, but probably not for too much longer. Because as we have come to find out recently, Marvel's lost the Conan license. But the creative team is writer David Pepose. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I assume that's how I pronounce his name, so I apologize for.
Yeah, it's not Papoose like the rapper.
Yeah, no, it's not enough O's. Art Carlos. I would be very upset if it was Papoose. Anyway, art by Carlos Magno and Espen Grundigen. Wait, that's not right. That must be inks or something. And letters by VC's Travis Lanham. I'm going to look that up, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that. So yeah, they restarted Savage Avengers. It is not an official Avengers book. It is starring Conan, and I will probably go ahead and spoil the fact that there's a motley crew of folks that they put together in this. If you can see the cover, so you can see pretty much who that is, and because of the fact that Marvel has lost the Conan license, they were going to have to figure out a way to get him back to his time. Guess what? They did that in this issue. But the thing that is curious about this issue is the fact that there was a thing going on here with Deathlock. And if you've been reading the current Avengers book, Deathlock has kind of has a different purpose, or maybe a
Right.
similar purpose. This is kind of a similar purpose, but they're not using him the same way as he's being used in this book. Unless that's going to
there's
tie
a slight
into
twist.
it.
Yeah, there's definitely a slight twist to it. I skimmed this, so but not closely enough to add it to my list of books.
Right. So I'm curious if that's going to tie into what's going on in Avengers, or this is just like, oh no, this is just another Deathlock that's just so happened to be time copying. But we'll see how that, and yeah, like I said, we'll see what else, you know, whether they're going to end the book when they finally lose the license, or because there's only a couple of months left, because I think this is July, or I don't know what they're going to do. That's kind of weird. It's going to be kind of weird because I don't think this book's going to hold up with the people that's going to be left.
Yeah, the concept of Savage Avengers kind of revolves around Conan the Barbarian being around. So that's why Roddy Cat seems to be pretty doubtful that this is going to go on beyond the return of the license back to the estate.
Yeah, but you know, if it does happen to shamble on like a zombie like the last volume did, then hey, go figure. Let me see. My last book though is Batman Superman World's Finest number 3. Written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, letters by Aditya Bidikar. So it seems like, well, so there's this whole thing. If you haven't been reading the book, there's this demon called Neza that's going after all of the heroes. And up until now, they've been using villains to use that goal. Well, that kind of sort of changes in this issue, or seemingly changes in this in the pages of this issue. Not to spoil anything, but Batman and Superman is pretty much trying to save the other heroes that are getting killed, including some of their Justice League brethren and sisterin that show up in this book, and they have to help with the Doom Patrol, who's out taking one path, and then Robin and Supergirl, which I think this whole book might be set in a past, because I think it's Batman. It might be not Tim. It's I'm drawing a blank on his name. Nightwing. Tim. I mean that time. Who's Nightwing?
Sorry, I muted myself for a second. Dick Grayson?
Dick Grayson, thank you. I think
seriously,
Dick Grayson.
You forgot the OG?
Yeah,
wow, it's been that kind of day, folks.
It's been kind of, yeah. So, but I think this book is being set in back in the day when Dick was still Robin. I'm not entirely sure about that, but that's what it seems like. So we got Robin and Supergirl, who apparently can go through time all by herself. On one part of the case, Doom Patrol on one part of the case, while Batman and Superman are handling things in the quote unquote present day for them, or the present day of this story. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure where this arc is supposed to be going, especially with this Devil Neza thing, but I guess we shall see. And that, folks, is the end of the books for me.
All right, so I am going to run through the remaining books that I have. So Eternals number 12 is written by Kieron Gillen, with art by Isai Rabich, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowell. So, in short, this issue basically gets us to the point where the conflict central to the Judgment Day crossover between the Eternals, the Avengers, and the X-Men comes from. That is essentially the point of this issue. So if you are looking for how we get to the part or the point where Eternals, in this issue and the last several issues have been in conflict with the Avengers. If you want to find out how the X-Men get drawn into this morass, read this issue. Next up
Wait,
is
real quick. Does it make sense?
A little.
Okay, because I hadn't
A
caught
little.
up
As a concept, only as a concept, not necessarily as it fits. It doesn't necessarily fit into our understanding of the characters, but as a strict, on a very kind of surface conceptual level, it works.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. All right, cool. I wasn't sure because Righty Cat's audio is still kind of he's still having some issues with it, so I wasn't sure if I was ready to move on or if he was ready for me to move on. Next up is Immortal X-Men #2. It's also written by Kieron Gillen with art by Lucas Vernick, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So Selene strikes back in this issue. So Selene is definitely not happy with the Quiet Council, and there is, and she's as Michael Jackson would say, want to be starting something, and things do pop off to a great extent because Selene is one of the few mutants, other than the now. Saying that Apocalypse is departed is kind of weird, but I always felt like Apocalypse's, grasp of magic was a very recent thing. He was always so big on science when he first appeared, and now he's a magician because of the whole the Ten of Swords thing, and all that, all that jazz. And so, Selene, being one of the few mutants that is adept at magic, uses that ability to great effect here. And this book is all about the infighting of the current members of the Krakoan Quiet Council. It is also a vehicle to kind of propel the story of Destiny and Mystique forward, as well as Hope and even Exodus. So these are characters that have not seen that much shine in the other X books. So it seems that Immortal X-Men is a vehicle to help give those characters some shine and some character development that they have lacked in other books. If you kind of want to see kind of a fun little homage to an older X-Men trope, there is one in here. I think Roddy Cat's going to read this, so I'm not going to spoil what that trope is. And there's plenty of references to kaiju in this issue. Next up is Marvel's Voices Identity #1. So I'm not going to go into the creative teams on this because this is an anthology book. There are 4 stories contained herein. They are actually pretty interesting as far as these Marvel's Voices book, that is, go. The first story in the book is actually written by Pornsak Pichetshote of who did the Good Asian, with art by an artist that I am personally familiar with. An acquaintance of mine, Kreese Lee, is the artist on the first story. There's actually a nice little follow-up to a Ms. Marvel story, an older Ms. Marvel story in this book, as well as a brief short story that I believe caught a little bit of attention in the comic book news circles because of a certain development that happens to Mantis. And the only way, the best way that I can sort of semi-spoil this without completely spoiling it is synergy. Once I say synergy, you might have a very good idea of what I mean about with that word when it comes to Mantis of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Next up is Nightwing #92. It's written by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Wes Abbott. So the continuing adventures of Dick Grayson as newly minted billionaire thanks to his inheritance from Alfred Pennyworth continues, and his crusade to make Bloodhaven an actual haven for peace and prosperity continues, but his old villain Blockbuster continues to try to undermine what Dick Grayson is trying to achieve, and we also get the additional appearance, that is. So we have an additional appearance of what appears to be a new character, a new villain that is being introduced for the purposes of giving Dick Grayson, Nightwing, a real run for his money as a member of the Bat family and the lead character in this book. Next up is Thor number 25. It's written by Donny Cates with art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Matt Wilson, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this is the latest chapter in the Banner of War crossover between two books that Donny Cates is writing, namely The Incredible Hulk, or The Hulk, that is, not Incredible, but just The Hulk, and Thor. This issue has the majority of the heroes of Earth trying to figure out what has become of the Hulk. Tony Stark does something very movie Tony Stark-like in this issue and takes his own initiative. Meanwhile, Hulk and Thor are going at it while Banner and, spoiler alert, Odin are having it out on not the astral plane, but something akin to it. And we get some more insight into what actually happened at El Paso, which was the mystery that the current Hulk run revolves around. So it's interesting that Cates would use the Thor issue to kind of reveal what the mystery of what the base mystery of the Hulk book is. Next up is Wolverine number 21. It's written by Benjamin Percy with art by Adam Kubert, and God bless Adam Kubert. I say this with no reservation that it is refreshing. And we're a bunch of old heads here on this show. We came up mostly reading 80s and 90s comics, and obviously, we had back issues of 70s comics and even a few 60s comics given to us as we were growing up, but we mainly read 80s and 90s books, so we were heavily influenced by the art styles that were prevalent in those days. And Adam Kubert really brings a lot of that back with some of the refinements that have come over time. Obviously, his skills have improved, techniques, lettering, coloring techniques, and inking techniques, and digital, and how all the digital stuff complements his work comes into play. But when you flip through this book, it's just sharp. The art is sharp, and it is a welcome sight to my sore eyes when I compare it to some of the other books that we read, and it doesn't look as sharp. That's the best way that I can describe it without really getting, without being like, like giving such effusive praise that it seems, weird. But we have the return of a relatively recent X-Men villain here, who is technologically based. The biggest spoilery light hint that I will give you about this character is that it is a character that appeared during Whedon's Astonishing X-Men run. If I'm not mistaken, that's where the character premiered. So, alrighty, last but not least is X-Force number 28. X-Force number 28 is also written by Benjamin Percy with art by Robert Gill. Colors are by Guru EFX, and letters are by our favorite lettering Python. And it's nice that we're wrapping up the rapid fire comic book review section with VC's Joe Caramagna. So, more technological villains pop up in the pages of X-Force number 28, and it seems like the villain here is almost directly related, like first, forget first cousin, like literally like first degree relation with the villain in Wolverine number 21. So it's kind of, interesting that this villain would be so similar to the one in Wolverine that Benjamin Percy is also writing. So, there's some interesting things that happen here. There's some interesting character developments for one of the characters, Kate Omega, Quentin Quire, who is definitely one of the stars of this X-Force book, this team book. So, there is a little bit of character development between Sage, of all people, and Omega Red. But ultimately, in this book, we are, if you're not a fan of Kid Omega, this is not the book for you. There's a lot of Kid Omega development going on. But, it's interesting to me. I don't mind reading it. And Percy seems to have a very steady hand when it comes to his corner of the X universe. And that is it for me. And we can move on to Kliqs of the Week.
Agent 70 was pretty much talking about me when you said not a fan of Kid
Say again?
Omega. I said you were pretty much talking about me not being a fan of Kid Omega, Quentin Quire.
Yeah. Listen, I know he's not the most popular character, so.
Well, I can't stand him. But they are giving him growth, so I'm trying to work with it. But either way, Kliqs of the Week, folks. So we do have a couple of them. We have actually, let me go back and look at this.
No, I was about to say, we're going to have a full complement this week.
Yes. Let's see, let me go back, because one of them has a note attached to it. So from Dirt, his click was Savage Avengers #1 because he's a Deathlock mark. So that'll be his pick. He said it was stupid but fun, lots of action. True. That is true. And Tim, I guess, as to no surprise to anyone who has been around these comic book Chronicles streets, he went with X-Men Red #2 because he's a big X-Men fan. So it's probably going to be one of them. Wasn't going to be that big of a surprise.
Right.
You got yours?
Well, there are a bunch of books in the X-Men corner of the Marvel Universe out this week. So,
This is true.
it's kind of hard to pinpoint what he would pick, but if there are plenty of X books, he'll probably choose one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a very good idea what mine is. I'm just going to commit to my choice.
Okay.
That being Fantastic Four number 43, because even though the developments in the issue were very much on an incremental scale, I thought that it was a very effective issue moving the grand story of the Reckoning War forward.
Okay, gotcha. And for myself, I'm actually going to go with I almost picked Fantasy Four number 43 because I did enjoy that. I also want to give a shout out to Silk number 5. That was also a potential click. But I'm actually going to go with New Mutants number 25.
Yeah, listen, I waxed poetically about the art and where the story might be going. Right. So I definitely agree that was a strong candidate this week.
So yeah, I'm quite curious about that. So hopefully it'll stick to landing, as we like to say. And right. That, folks, is that for the books of the week. We're going to go into the news, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. Your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise including custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through CSPN.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we get into the cinematic news as we start off with every week. First, Doctor Strange actor convicted of multiple counts of child sex abuse.
Car wash?
Oh, sorry about that. I had an ad open. Typical, right?
Yeah, this happens. So British court judge Mark Watson recently found actor Zara Pythian and her husband Victor Mark guilty on multiple counts of child sex abuse. This is not exactly the news we like to start off with or have in here, but nevertheless. This is, I guess she was an actor in the first Doctor Strange movie, because I'm pretty sure she was not in Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, Pythian, tried under the name Zara Mark, was convicted of 14 counts, while her husband was convicted of 18 counts. There was multiple counts of sexual activity with an alternating victim. It's a whole mess, and they need to be put under the jail. Next up,
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness screenwriter Michael Waldron discussed what fans could expect of how do you pronounce her name? I've never actually figured that out.
You know what? I heard it once and I couldn't tell you now.
Yeah, I figure like I need to go back to like Marvel's pull list or This Week in Marvel, because I know that they interviewed her.
Mm-hmm.
So I may need to consult that. But the actress behind America Chavez, and the character of America Chavez in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is its newest Nexus being. So Nexus being is a concept that's still kind of up for grabs as they continue to explore America Chavez's story. That is a paraphrase of what Waldron had to say.
Yep. Which it brings up some more stuff. We talked about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness last show, and I won't go too far into that, but maybe we may revisit it somewhere along the lines. Because I still have thoughts that have creeped back up in my brain about that movie. Anyway, Doctor Strange 2 writer also explains why spoiler had to join the MCU. Spoiler alert for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, by the way. If you haven't seen it yet, it's been a couple of weeks. I know, so hopefully this won't spoil you too much. But Charlize Theron is playing the character of Clea, excuse me. We get that in the end credit scene, and the writer Michael Waldron explains why she had to join the MCU. I'm assuming just talking about Charlize Theron, as if she wasn't in another cinematic universe, that being the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Right.
But anyway, next up,
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness has already made a significant total at the box office. According to Fandango, the blockbuster has added another $61 million in its second weekend for a domestic total of $291.9 million, which surpasses the lifetime gross of a few MCU films, including the first Doctor Strange, Venom, which is not really part of the Marvel film group, Logan, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The film appears to be on track to outperform Iron Man 2 as well.
Was it Logan also?
I'm sad that Winter Soldier didn't make that much money. I went to see Winter Soldier in the theater, and
Same.
I'm surprised that it didn't make as much money because it's such a fan favorite movie.
Yeah, it's still one of the better movies. For a lot of people would say, including probably us. So yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
But I mean, nevertheless, it's also a timing thing. As these movies have gotten bigger and bigger, things have, the veracity.
The box office grows with it, right?
And that also, exactly, and the veracity for particular movies swell one way or the other, or reduce. Either way, hey, still did good.
You mean not veracity, but like the appetite for them. Okay.
Correct.
Right, because when you said it, I was just like, "You mean the truth of it, really?"
Oh no,
But
no.
then, yeah, I was about to say I wasn't sure if you were using that like the right way, but
No,
yeah,
no,
I
no, no.
gotcha,
I
I
knew what I
gotcha.
was talking about. Yeah.
Like the voraciousness. Yeah, I
Right.
gotcha.
So do you think that it's time to retire the end credit scene credit clips? No, absolutely not. No, no, no. We should keep end credit scene. There's a question in the chat about keeping the end credit clips.
Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah.
was about to say I don't have the chat handy, so I'm just sort of like not really sure where that one was coming from
Well,
just
so
now. That was kind of weird.
nah, yeah. Shout out to my dude, Well Seasoned Game, who popped up in the chat and he just asked that question. Yeah, do you think it's time to retire the end credit clips? I think
No,
yeah, I
no,
think they still
no, no,
add.
no, no, no.
I think they still add some stuff. Plus, if they didn't, people would still be sitting there looking for them one way or the other. And hell,
Right.
and if I have done it with other movies that are not even Marvel movies, just sitting there, just seeing there's something at the end. So it has gotten me hook, line, and sinker. That's all I can say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, next
That's so
up,
funny.
yeah.
I'm, like literally, I'm just like, where is he coming from with this? Like, what?
Yeah, no, I'm not crazy. It came from somewhere.
Seriously, I'm like,
What you talking about, Will?
Indeed, indeed. Wait, is this me or you?
it's you because I just did the outgrossed
Gotcha.
story.
How Natalie Portman's the MCU return happened for Love and Thunder. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but basically, there was an interview with Empire with Taika Waititi, and he explained his writing process on how he decided to bring Jane Foster's Thor out of the comics and into the MCU. He basically says here, I didn't know we were going to use the storyline of the Mighty Thor character until we started working out the actual story. And he was like, I was highlighting and was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to bring Jane back into the storyline? That's pretty much that. It goes on from there. But yeah. Next up.
Next up is a related story about what Taika Waititi said about Jane, in an interview with Empire. So, it's about Jane, having, kind of coming back on the scene after two movies away. And if you include the Avengers movies, several movies away now. Yeah. And, basically that Jane has had a whole other life. And now the love of Thor's life has come back and is now dressed like Thor. So it's a real, I'm just going to say it. This is, we're on late at night. It's like Saturday Night Live now, right? So we can curse a little. It's a real mind fuck for Thor. That's what he says. End quote.
I will not be bleeping that out, by the way.
That's fine.
So yeah, that is that. And actually, speaking of, I don't know if you saw this photo, but Thor 4 photo seems to introduce a god with Black Panther ties.
Yeah, that did seem to be the case.
Mm-hmm. I saw that picture, and I was like, okay, you see Jane Foster Thor, Natalie Portman's Jane Foster Thor, she's kind of gunned up. You see Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, and then you see what we assume to be Bass in the corner, and they just all had this look on their faces, and I'm like, hey, all right, hey, how y'all doing?
Right.
But in any case, so yes, there's a new photo floating around. I'm sure y'all have seen it by this point. And it's seemingly suggesting that the other person in the picture is the goddess Bastet, aka Bast, played by Akosia Sabet, and the aforementioned Tessa Thompson and Natalie Portman as their respective characters. So we don't know. We'll see. Next up,
so this is a story that I'm going to kind of dance through the raindrops with. So Moon Knight director Mohammed Diab discusses the Moon Knight series finale's mid-credit scene, which introduces viewers to a character from Marvel Comics lore. It's literally one of the other alters of Mark Spector's psyche. So, his another symptom of his dissociative identity disorder. So, if you know that we've already seen Mark Spector and Stephen Grant in that show, you can kind of narrow it down a little bit as to which character was actually revealed. If you have not yet seen Moon Knight, I think a lot of people are going to have trouble recommending that, but I think it's still worth the watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also if you know enough about Moon Knight to make that connection.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it's. I don't know where I would put it in the ranking of the show so far, honestly, but it was pretty good. I'll have to go back and think about that. Speaking of Moon Knight, Moss reveals details about original, very different ending. So yeah, as things tend to happen, once things get wrapped up, people get loosey with the lips. This is Mohammed Diab, who says, "I remember the way the whole action sequence went down at the end and was completely inside the chamber of the gods. Everything." And I just thought, no, we want to see Cairo at night. I want to see something outside, and it just kept developing again. Everybody's chipping in. It's so hard to take credit unless I remember. So I don't remember, but I love it. And I love people saw episodes 3 Cairo today and how different it is than the perspective that the people of the desert and stuff and how it looks at night, which is another beauty. I love that about it. End quote. So, and I think it goes on from there, so we don't necessarily have to go through it. Next up,
so this week or this past week saw the release of the official trailer for the She-Hulk Attorney at Law Disney Plus show. Very briefly, the cast as kind of revealed in the trailer, we get to see Mark Ruffalo return as the Smart Hulk. Tim Roth, believe it or not, returns as Emil Blonsky, the Abomination. We also know that there are other characters who are revealed in this trailer. We get to see a brief look at Jamila Jamil's Titania. We also see a character that looks very much like Frogman, although I didn't recognize it. It was just, it was so fleeting that I didn't recognize it. But once I saw a still, I was like, oh, I think that's what that character is.
I believe so.
So I know a lot of people talked about what the CG looked like for She-Hulk and her shade of green. Shout out to Kermit the Frog.
Most other things, yeah.
It's not easy being green, folks. So that's those are the basics of some of the criticism of this trailer. I'm still willing to see where they come at, how it comes to us in August, right? That's when it drops.
August 17th. Yep.
All right, so it's still a few months away. There's definitely a little time for refining She-Hulk's look, but listen, it's going to be much more about the comedy and the story of this show rather than some of the super heroic stuff, because I've never seen She-Hulk like that when it comes to her solo books.
Well, wait, so did you read Dan Slott's 2005 She-Hulk?
Not at all.
You might want to check it out. There's from what I've been reading, I've so far I'm like 5 issues in, and I see especially from the trailer, I can see what they could be taking some stuff from.
Right.
Like pretty heavy.
I mean, I figure, right. I was about to say, I figure that they're going to borrow heavily from the more recent stuff.
Yeah.
The Soul Run and
yeah.
I just figured that's where they're gonna draw from. So, and I read that, I collected that, but I guess maybe going back to Slott's run might be important.
Yeah, I mean, because I know when the trailer hit, Slott and Soul were kind of dapping each other up, basically. And yeah, you could definitely tell, and which also would mean that they might see a little bit more Jennifer Walters. And not as much the Jade Giantess.
Mm-hmm.
So, Season 6 Gamer says the CG needs work before release. Yeah, they could. I mean, there's time. They could do something if they choose to. So we'll see. And I didn't think it was that bad either. So, but like I said, we'll see if they do anything else more to it. Move right along though. She-Hulk confirmed to feature the return of Wong. Which
I'm like, where did he go? We just saw him in Multiverse of Madness.
True, but I think they're saying in extension because he's been getting a lot of play you know.
Yeah, I mean, this phase is Nick Fury, or at least this phase is like Shield, you know?
Mm,
Because remember, like Coulson, like as an extension of Shield, was also kind of playing that role as well.
right. I'm hoping we're going to, and especially since we know that the Abomination is showing up, and Wong, maybe we'll see what the hell that whole fixing of the fights was from Shang-Chi was
Right.
about. Here's hoping. But yeah, so yeah, the phase Wong continues to keep going. Next up.
Next up, Hulu has canceled its stop motion animated MODOK series after just one season. This is the show that starred Patton Oswalt as the titular MODOK character. Um, you know, lots of offbeat humor in that show. I don't know if Roddy Cat ever got around to watching it.
Not yet, no.
I thought it was okay. It's not great. It was just, plenty of funny, ha, not funny, like ha, ho, ho, he. How about that?
Right, not rolling on the floor laughing.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, I'll check it out. It is what it is on that one, because I know I read the book that was like that was the companion to it.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking that I was gonna go head on into it, but I never did. So we'll see. But next up, Marvel licenses Stan Lee's likeness for future films, merch, and more. I don't know if you saw this article, Agent 7.
I saw hints of it on my social media feeds.
So yeah, apparently, according to Hollywood Reporter, Marvel's inked a contract with Stanley Universe, which is a venture between Genius Brands International and POW Entertainment, that will allow Lee's likeness to be used in any upcoming film or television projects. The contract also states that the creator's name and appearance can be used for quote-unquote Disney theme parks, various experiences, and merchandising. They're going to pimp out Stan Lee after his death. It's currently unknown, or presumably, we don't know. It's currently unknown when the deal officially starts, but audiences can possibly expect more of Lee's beloved cameos throughout the ever-growing MCU. So, are they going to CG him and put I hope they don't do that, or it's a hologram or something. I hope they don't do that.
I mean, at the end of the day, his likeness has to be licensed.
Right.
So think about seeing an image of him hanging on the wall. They still need to license that. So that's the that at its core still needs to be done. If that's all they do, then I'll be happy with that.
Exactly.
That'll be fine.
That's exactly what I was saying exactly. But if they go further than that, like making, I mean, they're probably doing like a Stan Lee, like in an animated thing or something like that. But I don't know. But outside of that, I hope they don't go too crazy with that.
Right.
That sounds silly. Next up, though.
Next up, so Hayden Christensen, while speaking with Total Film, teased how the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi show connects the original trilogy with the prequels. So he says that they're more in line with the prequels than they are with how the fights are in the original trilogy. The characters have aged, but not that much yet. And he said that it was a rewarding experience in that regard, and that it's nice to have this current wave of positivity over the prequel films, and that they're adding more connective tissue to all of these characters. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna throw this in here real quick, even though I didn't put it in the lineup. But I'll go take the next one as well. Colin Cantwell, who designed Star Wars iconic ships, dies at 90. I saw this earlier yesterday as of this recording, and I was like, "Oh, the dude who designed all the ships, he passed away." So we gotta, at the very least, recognize that right off, because let's face it, Star Wars got some cool ass ships. Personally speaking, that's but anyway, next up, Obi-Wan's Ewan McGregor confirms a major Ahsoka casting rumor. So Mary Elizabeth Winstead is now become attached to the Ahsoka series, apparently. Not Obi-Wan Kenobi, or maybe she will show up there. We don't know. Says, while discussing his place in the Star Wars universe with Vanity Fair, McGregor remarked on how ingrained the franchise has become in his personal life. Oh, right, I forgot they're together. My partner, Mary, is doing that Star Wars series with Rosario, and she's about to start. Our little boy has been born into this massive Star Wars family. He will either embrace it or really go the other way. I really don't know. Maybe he'll be a Trekkie. End quote. I forgot they were together. So yeah, yeah, the family that Star Wars together stays together. I guess. I don't know. Either way, next. I don't think it says actually. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't say who she's going to be or what. That she's attached with the
Right, right. Yeah, and it's something that he said because guess what? They are, you know, significant others.
Exactly.
All right, next up. So, according to Vanity Fair, the Star Wars series Andor is arriving late this summer, followed by the third season of The Mandalorian in late 2022 or
Crazy.
early 2023. And Ahsoka is going to come at some point in 2023 because it is currently filming. Other confirmed projects like The Acolyte are further off in the release schedule.
I'm like, that's fine. Like we're getting Obi-Wan. Wasn't really expecting that Andor series this year, so okay. Mandalorian 3, we pretty much knew that was coming this year, so that's not that big of a surprise. I don't know if anybody was still checking for that Cassian Andor series at all.
Mm-hmm.
So go figure. But hey, at least we know more than we did, I guess. That also the Acolyte thing, whatever that thing is, also somewhere along that. I assume that's going to be after Ahsoka. So guess what, folks? We get a lot of Star Wars, and the World Season Gamer says, "Too bad he's a Trekker." Hey, yeah, that's fine. Trekkie's got love around here, also. I happen to be both. I don't know. Anyway, next up, I'm a fan of both. What can I say?
Yep. All right. Next up.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no.
Yeah, I was about to say
whatchamacallit? Call it? Yeah, you still have next.
Yeah. This Black Canary art is inspiring the HBO Max's movies writer. HBO Max's, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's late, folks. I apologize. So yeah, Misha Green,
And it's been one of those days, folks.
It has very much been one of those days. We won't even get into it. But yeah,
Yeah,
Misha
it's
Green.
nothing personal, like Monica would say.
Nice. Yes, Black Canary writer Misha Green, whose name you should be some folks will be familiar from Lovecraft Country and other places, took inspiration for her upcoming HBO Max film from a fan-made poster. Green shared an update on her Black Canary writing process in a photo posted on her Instagram story. Featured in the photo was "Shoot to Kill" by Christine Vachon, which reminds me of a Mad Lion song, which I won't go into. Shout out to your old heads who know who Mad Lion is. Go look it up, kids. Anyway, the creator of the poster recognized the work.
No, isn't it pronounced Mad Lion? Anyway,
I actually don't remember. I don't. Too many, whatever. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. The creator of the poster recognized the work on Green's Instagram story, and Green confirmed on Twitter that she chose the image to use as a source of inspiration throughout the writing process. So that's cool. I don't know if we have a copy. We don't. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the tweet from Misha Green, and there's the picture. If you're watching the video version of this, you can see the post in question. And apparently, if you're into legs and feet, you got that going on for you. But this is not that type of show, folks. Next up,
so I have not been keeping up with this. I don't know if Roddy Cat has, but apparently Amber Heard testified in her trial, surrounding her relationship with ex-husband Johnny Depp, that she was initially let go from her Aquaman 2 contract amid the negative publicity due to the trial, and said that she was able to fight to stay in the movie, and they kept her in it, but she now just does not know how much she's actually in the movie, in the final cut.
Right. And so that thing's been going on. We have purposely not talked about that whole case because it seems like a circus. And this is the only relevant thing that I have seen from it, because I have not also been keeping up with it. Also, I can put where my side of this is, but you don't know anything about anybody's relationship, so we're not even going to go there for that. So, next up, DC's Wonder Twins HBO Max film has been X'd. So I guess it's been confirmed, because we did kind of talk about whether it might. I think we had talked about whether it might have been confirmed
Right.
or not. But I guess this is confirmation according to Variety, at least. So Warner Bros. Announced back in February that it was developing the DC film based on the Wonder Twins, and we even talked about a couple of the casting choices that they have made, which is kind of funny given I think what's coming up next in this story. But actually, it's not funny. I shouldn't say that. But it looks like they had started, but yeah, I guess that's it for the Wonder Twins movie. Huh. I wasn't really expecting too much, but hey, I'm surprised that they even gave it a thought. Put it this way. So, next up,
the CW is saying goodbye to Riverdale. The Archie comic series, developed and executive produced by Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, is ending with its seventh season, which will debut this coming mid-season. Okay.
And the reason why that last story was funny because the dude that plays Archie was in one of the stars of the
Wonder Twins
movie. Yeah. So, and they killed the storyline in the Flash series. I didn't know the Wonder Twins was in the Flash series, because that shows how much I've been keeping up with it. What season came? So I guess I should catch up at some point. Next up, though, Netflix announces the Archie's live action cast. So apparently, Netflix is doing a Bollywood version of. Well, I assume it's a Bollywood version. I shouldn't say that. But basically, it's a version of the Archies. Yes, the Archie comics Archies, but set in 1960s India. So that's where I immediately went to Bollywood, and so that was me doing that, and not the article saying that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually going to be, but it does say it is a musical drama. So maybe more right than I'm thinking. Could be wrong. It apparently the Archies will premiere exclusively on Netflix and feature an ensemble cast of newcomers whom I will not name because all the names are here, and who will be naming all of the titular Archie comics characters that you may or may not know and love. And there's a short video that was introducing each actor apparently to the film. I am definitely going to be curious enough to check this out. I haven't checked it out. I've watched like one episode of Riverdale. I might check this out just to see what the hell they're doing here. It doesn't say when this thing except for 2023. So yeah, we're probably not going to get it until sometime next year. But hey, go check it out. Next up.
Alrighty, an animated revival of Married with Children is actually in the works. According to Deadline, the classic comedy series is currently being pitched to various networks and streamers. The show, which is said to be generating a lot of interest, will actually feature the original series' stars Ed O'Neill, Katie Sagal, Christina Applegate, and David Faustino. The showrunner for the project will be Family Guy executive producer Alex Carter. So, that is a cheaper way to, set up a return. I don't know if it's going to be a reboot. I think it's just going to be a return of Married with Children.
Yeah. Which is actually kind of funny. So, folks may not know, Married with Children was one of the first Fox shows before it was Fox.
Right.
And then Family Guy came along, so which is Family Guy and actually, excuse me, this was even before the Simpsons. So Simpsons came along later, and Family Guy came along
well later than that.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Shout out to Tracy Ullman, because we wouldn't have the Simpsons without the Tracy Ullman show. Nevertheless,
I was about to say, and we're talking about like In Living Color time too.
Well, The Living Color came slightly after Married with Children, but yes, but it was still in the early days. You're right. So yeah, all of that, because I remember a couple of the old Fox shows, but that no one would even know outside of Married with Children. Which, yeah, I saw this and I was like, this is kind of silly. And then I was cleaning up. I don't know if anybody has been checking out CB Caps, but I posted a picture of something I found in cleaning up my some comic books that I have, and there was the first issue of a Married with Children comic book that I came across from
Yep.
June 1990. So they can't. Well, I guess they could go back there again, but I doubt if they would. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what exactly would this be? Like, we already got The Simpsons, we got Family Guy. Like what else can Married with Children, even in animated form? Don't get me wrong, I love the show. The show was great, but like, what are they gonna do with this? You know?
Yep.
Like, I feel like the network was pretty much built off of Married with Children. There's no doubt in that, because obviously, like I said, Family Guy and the rest of the shows that came after it that kind of came off of this. Regardless, I don't know. I will check it out. I will check it out. You'll hear about it. Next up.
No, you're up.
I get this one. Great. Jack Reacher star Alan Ritchson cast in Fast X, or aka Fast 10. So I don't know this dude. Alan Ritchson, I guess he's a Jack Reacher.
Yeah, he played Hawk in the Titan show too.
Oh, okay. I just got to
He's a
where
big dude.
Huh?
He's a big dude.
Okay, yeah, I think the last time I saw watched Titans, I think I just got to when they showed up, which is granted kind of early on. So, okay, sure. Now, who is he going to be? We don't know.
Right.
But he's just adding another name to the number in the Fast X, the Fast X stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is definitely Vin Diesel trying to throw as many guest stars and Hollywood star power that he can into these unfortunately failing sequels.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion as a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, agreed. What was the name of the spinoff show? I'm assuming you're talking about the Married with Children spinoff show, and I don't remember. It's been so long, but I do remember there was one. I think it had something to do with the neighbors, but I don't remember.
I'm like, you're addressing a question, right?
Yes.
Oh, because again,
What you talking about, Will?
Yeah, we got people in the audience, so I figure, if people got a question, they can answer.
yeah, just let us know that you're answering a question. All right.
Now we're going into the anime corner.
And apropos to the first story. Crunchyroll and Toei Animation have announced that Dragon Ball Superhero, the newest film in the hugely popular anime franchise, will hit theaters globally this summer. It's going to start in Japan on June 11th, and then starting in August, the movie will be rolled out in theaters in North America, Latin America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, the Middle East, and the rest of Asia. Okay.
So apparently, I did look up this that Married with Children of a spinoff, and it was apparently a failed spinoff starring one Matt LeBlanc from before Friends.
Yeah, I was going to say before. How you doing?
Yeah, it was called Top of the Heap. Looks like I don't remember that at all. Anyway, next up, anime's fall 2022 season will be one of the industry's most stacked in years. Most stacked. Heck, spring's already looking pretty good, so I can only imagine how fall's going to be. As this article says, yeah, spring season is going on right now, and a slew of new shows have already impressed fans, according to this article. Actually, we will be getting to a couple of them in the upcoming articles, because this article mentions Mob Psycho 100, which is actually coming back this fall, which is a show I've never seen, but I've heard people love the hell out of. But yeah, there's a bunch of shows that are confirmed that are going to be released in October, including JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean, Spy X Family, which I guess is next season, Uzumaki, Golden Kame, et cetera, et cetera. Oh yeah, the Bleach, 1,000 Year War, Blood War, and of course My Hero, is all coming back this fall. So yeah, anime fans rejoice. Next up.
So speaking of My Hero Academia, the third feature film in the franchise, My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, has finally had a date set for its US Blu-ray DVD release. So it's been a while since that movie was out in theaters, but now we have a date of August 23rd for the My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission Blu-ray and DVD to come out. So finally, I'll be able to catch this movie.
Oh, you didn't catch it in the
No, I did not catch it in the theaters.
No, in the other ways.
Oh no, because they do a good job of cracking down on the other ways.
Gotcha. We won't go into the other ways, folks. You know what it is. As I said earlier, Mob Psycho 100 is coming back this October. I know there are people that I know on my timeline who love that show, so I'm sure they will be chomping at the bit to catch this again. Like I said, I've never watched it, so if you got fans out there, shout them out. Next up.
Oh no, we're done, right?
Oh, we're done with Anime Corner. We're going into Comic Book Corner, but we're still staying in the Anime Corner, if that makes sense.
There it is. So let me just pull up the transition here.
Dragon Ball Super shares preview for Chapter 84, and I guess it would be a spoiler for if you're behind, but I'm not going to go into it because I have not read any of it. Have you read any of it? I don't know.
The Dragon Ball Super, no.
Yeah. Okay.
The only manga that I am completely up to date on is the main My Hero Academia manga.
Right. Was there not one for Haikyuu?
There was. I just haven't gotten into reading it.
Gotcha.
It's funny because that Haikyuu and Demon Slayer are both done. Yes. So I could technically read both of them to figure out what's to see where everything goes.
Yeah, as I've told you before, I am very tempted to start with a couple of, including like Spy Family. Well, I already started Spy Family, but there's a couple of manga, including My Hero, that I'm kind of curious about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I want to go down a road because I already read enough as it is with comics. So anyway, Chapter 84, Dragon Ball Super's which is next big chapter, is going to be hitting in a few more days, which I would imagine as of this article is probably out already. May not be here, but in the States, I should say. This says here that the Granola the Survivor arc was announced to be coming to an end sometime this year, with the next arc to follow shortly after that. If you know what that means, you are a better person than I am. The article goes on from there, including giving some preview pages of some drafts from the next chapter. If you're watching the video version, you can see me scrolling past them. And you will probably... Oh, yeah. May 19th will be the launch of... Chapter 84, which is past. So it's out there and you've probably read it by now. Next.
Alrighty, so My Hero Academia Vigilantes reveals the final chapter release date. So that final chapter of the English version is going to be on Shonen Jump. The online magazine is going to have it on May 28th. The English version of the chapter is going to be out on May 27th and will appear digitally on the Manga Plus app. Okay. That is going to be the 126th and final chapter of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. And I literally just opened up the most recent chapter 353 of the My Hero Academia manga, the main My Hero Academia manga, which is hurtling to a conclusion because it just came out today.
Gotcha. All right. Fire Force creator shares special message to fans with manga's final volume. This is actually another manga that I was that had already started, but hadn't going all the way through yet. So Fire Force's manga run officially came to an end earlier this year, and the series creator behind the series has shared an emotional message to fans with the launch of the manga's final volume. The 34th and final volume of Fire Force has now hit the shelves in Japan, and it's going to be a bit before fans in other territories get to check out the finale for themselves, unless you know other means to find said stuff. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But anyway, with the release of the final volume, Fire Force creator Atsushi Okubo, shared the following emotional message, as spotted and translated on Twitter, that begins as such. Thank you all for staying to the end. Fire Force is now finished. Fire Force is a story about life, but you could also say that it's a story about death. Death is something that no one has ever experienced, yet it can happen at any time to us living beings, but can only be explained by our imagination. I guess that's true. I'm still waiting for season 3. Bring it to me. Thank you very much. Next,
Marvel Comics provided an exclusive reveal of the cover and solicitation information for Avengers number 60 by writer Mark Russell and artist Greg Land. Greg Land.
Yes.
Yeah, so Hawkeye faces the X-Men's Wrath in Avengers number 60 as part of, I guess, Judgment Day.
Yes. I'm so happy that he got this, because as folks may or may not know, Greg Land is a fan favorite to a couple of hosts of the Comic Book Chronicle, and I say
now it's a hat trick, folks.
What you talking about, Will?
and I say favorite as in being not at all, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, firmly tongue in cheek.
Yes, but I love it every time it comes up. Amazing Spider-Man teases Gwen Stacy's return for Judgment Day tie-in. Huh? What? Gwen Stacy might be making another comeback in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. The upcoming Avengers X-Men Eternals event, Judgment Day, will feature a number of tie-ins, of course, debuting in August. And one of those is Amazing Spider-Man number 10. Peter Parker is already dealing with a chaotic new status quo under the guidance of writer Zeb Wells and artist John Romita Jr. And his life will get more complicated when Spider-Man is judged for the moment that Gwen Stacy died in his arms. And go ahead and sing the song. You know you want to. Must have been something he did. And in Amazing Spider-Man 1.
You know, he should have walked away.
Yes, should have. Yes.
It's late, folks. It's been a day.
Oh man, yes, you gotta have it. So tie-ins, we know this stuff. This whole Avengers X-Men thing, which we haven't fully gotten into officially, is going to be a thing.
Yeah, we're about to get there.
Yeah, and this is the point where I say, hey, folks, August solicitations are out there if you are one of those folks who are inclined to read that stuff. So they're all out there. You can go check them out, which means that also there are going to be some news about stuff coming forth in the next couple of weeks as they get mined. Next up.
So Marvel Comics is celebrating 60 years of Spider-Man, and there's a bunch of stuff going on, but one thing that they are doing is in August, Amazing Fantasy number 1000. While the numbers don't exactly add up, it's actually going to be a giant size celebration one-shot that brings together a bunch of comic book classic creators and modern classic creators, and it's a book that explores the past and future of Amazing Spider-Man storytelling. So that's coming out in August.
Mm-hmm. Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever celebrates the spirit of Vengeance's 50th anniversary, which is this year. Shout out to Tim, who wrote the story, by the way. Our very own Tim Adams. So this year marks Ghost Rider's 50th anniversary, as I've said, and Marvel celebrating with a special one-shot that puts the spotlight on the spirit of Vengeance's past, present, and future. I am so tempted to go watch those 2 Ghost Rider movies after we talked that last time. By the way, But anyway, comicbook.com can exclusively reveal that Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever #1 from Benjamin Percy and artist Juan Jose Rip, and covered by Bjorn Barons. The anniversary one shot ties into Percy's current run on Ghost Rider. Wait. Oh, is he writing that Ghost Rider book?
Yeah.
Okay.
It hasn't come out in a while. We haven't
No,
seen an
okay.
issue for a little while.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think it's like 2 issues and something. But anyway.
Yeah, it's just a little behind schedule, I think.
Gotcha.
You know, like remember we had like several weeks of like very few books, so there's got to be
That's true.
something going on.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. So we probably should see the next one soon. But anyway, readers will yeah. So Percy's current run on Ghost Rider is being celebrated while also paying tribute to the creators who came before him. Readers will also be introduced to a new character named Necro the Tattooist, who will give Johnny Blaze a warning about his future. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then there's a quote here from Percy, but I'll just leave that to folks who want to read this the article in the show notes. Next up.
Alrighty, next up. So, meet Escapade, a new mutant hero created by Charlie Jane Anders, who is IO9 co-founder and award-winning author. So the beginning of Escapade's journey begins in Marvel's Voices Pride #1, which follows the young superhero's career as a thief and explores her life as a trans mutant. The story is written by Anders and drawn by artist duo and Eisner-nominated cartoonist Rose Stein and Ted Brandt, with colors by Tamara Bonvillain as the collection's central story. So come go with her, and get away.
Mm-hmm. She'll have a good time. Leave your work
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, glad that we're on the same page on that. I also appreciate that Ryan Panagos and Lorraine Sink on This Week in Marvel, or the poll, I think it was on This Week in Marvel, also hit upon the exact same reference.
Not coincidentally, Janet Jackson's birthday was also on the 19th, so go figure.
Exactly. Shout out to Miss Janet.
There you go.
Because I'm nasty.
Oh, Jesus.
It's late, folks. It's been a day.
Venom introduces a new, very different symbiote to the Marvel Universe in Venom #11, apparently. So, yeah, there's a new cover to Venom #11 by Brian Hitch, which gives readers their first glimpse at the Sleeper symbiote and its brand new host. Sporting high-tech chemical weaponry adorned with vials of unknown substances and decked out in a gleaming gas mask, this version of Sleeper, named Sleeper Agent, marks new territory for the character. Written by Ram V, with illustrations by Brian Hitch. Is this the longest Brian Hitch has been on a book? Oh, let me stop.
No.
The upcoming issue promises to kick off a 3-part storyline titled Venom World. Actually, I don't even know when he got on this book, so I shouldn't say that. Following the conclusion of the series' current arc, written by Al Ewing at its outset. I didn't know there was a Venom. I guess I did know there was a Venom book. I don't know. Next up.
Marvel's classic rom-com Patsy Walker #1 makes its debut on Marvel Unlimited. So this is one of those Infinity comic format books, that scrolls up and down. The 4-part series follows Patsy Walker and her rival Edie Wolf as they enter a fierce competition to win a meet and greet with their favorite singer, the charming Chad Collins. The creative team on the series includes writer Trina Robbins, color artist Derek Charm, and colorist Rico Renzi, and edited by Lana Smith.
Yep, that's out there now. Not an endorsement, just saying.
Yep.
Marvel Comics confirms that Conan the Barbarian is leaving the publisher, as we alluded to earlier. The Hyborian Age is coming to an end at the House of Ideas. Marvel announced that Conan the Barbarian will soon leave the Marvel Universe at the conclusion of Jerison Aaron and Mahmoud Azra's King Conan series in July. The last issue will be King Conan #6, which brings a definitive end to the character's latest batch of stories at Marvel Comics. We also talked about Savage Adventures earlier, which started another adventure with Conan, which I assume they're going to have to do something with very quickly, considering how often this book is going to come out, because it doesn't have long. Anyway, despite the character's license leaving Marvel, the publisher also announced a new round of collection releases. This fall, Marvel releases its sixth volume as a part of the Conan the Barbarian Epic collection, featuring a collection of vintage comics from Roy Thomas, John Buscema, Howard Chaykin, and Gil Kane. Fast forward to December, and Marvel is releasing another collection, Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel Years Omnibus, Volume 10, with a cover from Todd McFarlane. So, even though the licenses are leaving, there's still going to be some Conan at the outset. Next up.
Fans of Disney Plus's Moon Knight will soon be able to get their hands on a Funko Pop of Layla Al Faouli in her Scarlet Scarab costume, but only if they go to San Diego Comic-Con. It's going to be an exclusive to San Diego Comic-Con, which runs from July 21st to July 24th at the San Diego Convention Center.
Layla got me on my knees. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say I am not going to give any kind of props to.
Yeah, I know, captains or whatever, but
yeah,
you can't help that one. Transformable Lego Optimus Prime set to arrive this spring. Now, we've talked about a certain transforming Optimus Prime. Lego decided to get in on the farm by doing one themselves, apparently.
Right.
Yeah, I saw this out there and I didn't want to look at it because I knew I was probably going to want it, one, and two, I'm not good at Lego, so if I had to put it together, I knew good and well that wasn't going to happen, even if I did get it. So that being said, the Lego Optimus Prime set does not have a release date, but apparently it says here the fans can expect it to launch in June. There is a video out there showing it transform. Probably not how you put it together, but nevertheless, have at it, folks. Next up.
McFarlane Toys has debuted DC Direct Page Punchers, which are toys that are kind of action figures with more limited articulation than the 7-inch scale McFarlane toys, and they come with a comic book, all for the relatively low price. Everything is relative, folks, of $9.99.
I mean, hey, a figure with a book, sure, why not?
Yeah. Like I said, relatively low price, since these, most of these action figures, like the kind of collectible ones, are all like $25 and up.
Yep. I'm scrolling real fast through the available figures. So it's the Flash, Black Adam, Superman, and Batman.
Of course, Black Adam.
Of course, yeah. Timely.
Of course. Because everybody wants a Black Adam.
Exactly. It's just rolling off for everybody's tongue at this point in time. Can you smell what the Black Adam is cooking?
Oh, no.
DC's Black Label's Human Target gets a new one-shot. So, Christopher Chan, star of DC's Black Label's The Human Target, will get his own one-shot detailing his life prior to the events of the current series, which apparently is still going on because none of us have read it. DC announced Tales of the Human Target from writer Tom King and artist Miko Janin, Raphael Albuquerque, Kevin McGuire, and Greg Smallwood. So at least it got some good art attached to it, or artists. The new one-shot is set before Chan sets out on a mission to find his killer after he drinks poison intended for the notorious the notorious villain Lex Luthor. In this one-shot anthology, Christopher Chan teams up with the members of Justice League International, some of whom already are prominently involved in the story, in 4 connecting mysteries, and one of them may be responsible for the poison that the Human Target's living on borrowed time on. So there's the premise of that. Next.
All right. Teen Justice reveals new details about DC's non-binary Flash, a male Raven, and more. So this is a multiversity series titled Teen Justice. The series highlights the heroes of Earth 11 who make up the Teen Justice team, including Kid Quick, Aquagirl, Clarion, the Witch Girl, Supergirl, Robin, Troy, and Raven. Each trading card, which you can see on this in the article, reveals background information about each character, their real name, and their first appearance on the Teen Justice team. Okay.
Classic Wonder Woman villain gets a massive deadly upgrade. I guess this is spoiler alert for Wonder Woman Evolution number 7, which is, I think, came out last week or this week, probably. I don't know. DC released a preview page, which you can preview for said book, which comes from writer Stephanie Phillips, artist Stefano Raphael, colors Jody Belair, and letterer Tom Napolitano. It's late, folks. Sorry. In the preview, the mysterious Dr. Hill is continuing to perform scientific experiments. Only this time, rather than messing with Diana's mind, he's performing trials on one of her longtime enemies, Silver Swan. Never heard of her. Next up.
A major Justice League member is going after Deathstroke the Terminator in DC Comics' Shadow War crossover event. So Shadow War is a crossover between Batman, Robin, and Deathstroke Inc. And apparently, spoiler alert for Shadow War Zone number 1, another player is gunning for Deathstroke. It's someone who has a sonic scream in the DC universe.
See, this one I knew was coming because I saw that play out in Deathstroke Inc. So this is not a surprise. I did not know this is where that was going to play out or whatever play out. So I haven't had a chance to read that book yet or much of Shadow War at this point. Next up, though, Doctor Who reveals new secrets about the fugitive Doctor. So Titan Comics' upcoming Doctor Who Origins number 1 will reveal some previously untold secrets about a major Doctor Who character, the fugitive Doctor. Doctor Who Origins comes from writer Jodie Hauser, artist Roberta Ingranata, and colorist Rania K. Sahadiwa. The upcoming issue, I apologize if I screwed up your name, by the way. The upcoming issue, which releases in June, will shed light on how the fugitive Doctor got her name and what her time at the division looked like. The synopsis of the issue goes away, which I won't talk about. But hey, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you know who that is, and you'll probably want to check this out. Next up.
Last but not least, Grant Morrison, multiple award-winning writer of acclaimed comic books, had a special gift released this previous Free Comic Book Day. It was not a new title, though, but in fact, it was quite the opposite. It was a 40-year-old short story he had written and drawn in the earliest stages of his career. Morrison originally posted it on his Substack, but it has now been published on IO9. Okay.
Yep. If you're a Grant Morrison fan that's out there, it said be in the show notes, you can check that out. And that is the end of the news. Real quick, I was going to say there is a book that came out this week from it's not the Multiversity, from the Milestones Return. It's a new book and it's called Duo. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But I will try to check it out and maybe mention it next week if I get a chance to. We'll see. But let's hit that one last ad read, shall we?
Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through the CSPN link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Spoken like a man who always reads those ads. And folks, we have come to the end of the show. This was a little more abbreviated show because hey, it's been a day, and this show is like a couple of days late, so we won't even get into that. But we will hope you will join us next week for another show. we'll be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. The first
Right. It'll be
episode.
very timely.
Yes. So it's going to be hopefully good. We shall see. But nevertheless, folks, I have been Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. You can also find me at Radicat on Instagram, but nobody goes there. Who cares? You can find Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PCN_Dirt, which you can see him. He's not here, but he's always with us some kind of way. You can find him at PC_Dirt on Twitter. You can find him at PopCultureNet on Twitter. You can find him at popculturenet.com and all those umbrella sites they're in. And of course, you can find Tim DOGG98, the Osiris that is ish, at Tim DOGG98 on Twitter. You can also find him at CBCron on Twitter, which is the Comic Chronicles Twitter account. You can also follow us. Hopefully we're gonna get a hold of that so we can attach it to this thing. But regardless, you can also find him at the Kliq Nation on Twitter. That's the KLIQNATION at thekliqnation.com. But of course, you can find Tim writing his face off over at comicbook.com. You can find this here show on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and the notification button so that you know when we are coming out.
Yeah. Thank you for the follow, World Seems Gamer. Appreciate it. You could also catch us live normally every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, where we record live and direct. Folks, that's it. We will be back next week. Like I said, same bad time. Well, no, I'm saying not same bad time, same bad channel.
Normal bad time.
Yes, normal bad time, same bad channel though. However, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.